Hi everyone, my name is Iris. I'm a senior product manager. I'm also a Bentley alum. I was here at Bentley in fall 2019, the CIS sandbox as well for 5 semesters. And thank you, Mark, for inviting me back to Bentley and for me sharing some of my journey in the tech startup post-grad. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and let's get started. Okay, so now I kind of want to share a real product example from my life here at CMT, and it's a public product, so you can actually, Google it. It exists. It's out there actually, so I think that's what I'm proud of. I wanted to kind of give an idea. So this is Drivescape, which is our dash cam. It's also considered an IoT device because it has all this additional telematics in it. And we built this website. Somebody was talking about HTML. You will use HTML later in life. So there's our website there. This I didn't do it specifically myself. I worked with the team, the design team actually, but I was part of the marketing campaign. So I did lead the content that was going to the website itself. And you might say that that's not really your role as a product manager, but that's what I was trying to get to, that in some smaller companies, you have to own the full product lifecycle from its creation to like go-to-market strategy. And depending on the resources, we don't have like a huge like marketing team within CMT. So a lot of the product managers have to step in to take that role. And, it's a great learning opportunity, especially if you are early in your career. And for me, I've been 3 years at CMT. So this just shows growth and shows that you have initiative. So it's a very good, I would say it's a pretty good experience for you to have early at your stage. And I do suggest going with startups because that's where you have these learning opportunities that you might not have in much more well-established companies. But anyway, let's go with Drivescape. I just kind of want to explain what it is. So it's a video telematics solution for safety. It's a dual camera dash cam. So it has like the inside and outside of the vehicle able to record. It continuously records once it's in. It is designed for rideshare drivers. So it's in the market right now for Uber drivers specifically. And it helps them in general to know like how they are driving. But also, whenever a crash is detected, the crash footage will be directly sent to the backend. So a lot of the dash cams that are in the market right now, they have this memory card, and that can be tampered with. So you can take that footage, and today with AI, actually, you can do anything with it. But that's why it's not trusted by insurance companies whenever you file a claim if you were in a crash. And your car has to be insured if you are an Uber driver. So in this case, you can use the footage to say that you were not at fault. So in that case, it really helps with your insurance claim. And because it's not tampered with, since it's inside of the Drivescape, you cannot physically take it out, then the footage is real and trusted by our insurance partners. So it's a very complex device. It's not really one that exists out there, that other competitors have it. It's very bespoke. It's built in-house by our IoT firmware and hardware engineers. It has all these different components to it, but specifically the fact that it has this edge computing on device, it's able to detect if an Uber driver is distracted, if an Uber driver is tailgating or doing any sort of behaviors like this. And Uber as a company in general, it's our partner. They're really trying to put more investments on having their drivers be safer on the road and less distracted as well, because they have to use the phone when they pick up a passenger or when they're looking at the route. So this device really encourages them, to be more aware of like how they are on the road, and they are feeling more safe, basically, just for their own passengers, but also for themselves. Okay. I was working specifically on the app. So I was in the app team. I was leading that effort. The firmware and the backend team or the other teams I was closely collaborating with, because the app does not work without the dashcam. So you have to understand how the dashcam works in order to build the app. So they go kind of hand in hand, and I think it was a great experience in general, because it's basically a small company within a company. You have all these different teams, and you're leading a product from its whole life cycle. It has like a hardware component, a software component. There is a customer, but there is also end users. So it's a lot of exposure, which is great. And if you ever have to experience this is kind of like a very, very good way to understand how fully a product works. And it can really help you build this entrepreneurial mindset for even later in life, if you ever want to create anything. There is a lot that goes on when you think about a product that is out there, but specifically anything that has a hardware component. And I guess the supply chain is the most difficult part, because there are parts related to it, and it's manufactured in China, but it will have to come here, and there is inventory that needs to be calculated. I was exposed to all of that, so again, it's really a role where you could think of different sub-roles within it that I had the opportunity to learn about, so it was great in a way. But I guess my point with this slide is that why did we have an app? The app was able to enable the drivescape. So to start properly recording, you had to scan the QR code that was at the back of the dashcam with the app itself. It also would allow you to access request footage. So you could see your footage that it was being recorded, and also you could review your trips. So it was telling you, like, I have recorded this Uber trip, and this is where you're heartbreaking, this is where you were speeding, or any of the other events. And you could download your videos, you could have them in your phone, you can share it with your insurance, you can share it with your family if you needed to, and obviously contact support, which this is one of the areas that I was most interested in, because I needed to know how they felt about the app, like what features were working or not working, how can I expand my current roadmap, what can I add to it, because the current, whatever was not working, it was important to know what the support tickets were about. So that was my focus as well. This is a sneak peek to the different, I guess, pages or features that I worked on. And specifically this year, I did the last two, which is the live preview and the browse over Wi-Fi. The live preview is where you could see kind of like a live stream of your road camera and cabin camera, and that was going to help you with positioning your dash cam, like how you could put it in the car. Had you placed it correctly, were you able to see like the back seat, the front was okay or not, and also it could tell you that, hey, it's working properly. So that was the feature. And the other one, the browser over Wi-Fi, is that you can actually connect with a dash cam. It has its own Wi-Fi, and you could see everything that was recorded. So think about the Ring dash cam, if anybody has that in your house. That was the inspo, actually, for the browser over Wi-Fi feature. There is a timeline view where you can see all the recordings, and you can also filter by the calendar and kind of download more footage if you wanted. But at least you could see everything that was in the dash cam. So it's not a black box. We were trying to get the user to have more control over what was being recorded, so they had more visibility to it. Because as I said, there is no SD card or anything that could be taken physically. They had the app for that reason. So it was very important that the users were satisfied and the users liked the features and they were serving the purpose why they bought the dashcam to begin with. Okay, and this is just a quote from somebody who's using Drivescape. I keep track of all the positive and negative ones. Kind of like, this is one of the good ones that I wanted to share today. But yeah, this user was very satisfied with the device, the fact that it could capture the full view of the client in the back seat. And a lot of these Uber drivers are negatively kicked off from the platform, even though they were not at fault or if they had any passenger altercations. So having the footage really helped them to make a case against like the platform removing them. and a lot of them make a living out of it. So, you know, if you kick them out of these platforms, then they're not able to even make an earning, like living for their families. So it was very nice to hear, like, from the drivers that, hey, this really saved me, like made the case for me to be, again, put back in the platform. Okay, then it's a very long presentation. So the PM's toolkit. This is kind of just going through what different resources, I would say, or what different type of tools I used while I was at CMT, and that really helped me throughout like the different product life cycle. But first I wanted to mention what the product life cycle is, because I did mention it throughout the presentation a lot, but this is kind of like a view from ideation, research, design, development, testing, launch, and post-launch. Nothing stops at launch. Whenever you launch a product, you have to make sure how it is doing post-launch, and then you kind of go over it again. It's kind of like a 360 type of framework that we use at my work, and a lot of tech startups do that too. So it's great for getting the idea into a successful market-ready product. And now I kind of want to go through each one of them, other than the ideation. The ideation, because it's the first stage, it's very open. Like you can use whatever tools. You don't have to use any specific ones. You can just be in the same room talking to people and brainstorming different ideas. So it's very open, the first one. But the second one, when it comes to research, there is some specific tools that can be helpful. And these tools can also be helpful if you ever use them in university too. I haven't been exposed to all of them during my grad school, so I think I just wanted to bring them up here if you ever need to use any of them. But for the first one, research design, where you have to generate, capture new product ideas. You have to evaluate the feasibility, desirability of the product ideas. That is usually used with a lean canvas, which in my company, we had it already kind of created and made by the product team. And we were using Miro as the tool that really allowed collaboration. Like a few different people in the same online platform, you could see there, maybe you have used it. Has anybody used it? Oh, you have to use it. It's great. It's a very good tool. It really helps, especially if you're not in the same room, because I know that right now you can also meet with your peers, you know, outside and kind of work together. But this is really useful if, hopefully, never happens the pandemic, but if you have to be in different places, then you can see each other in the same document and doing edits. So it's kind of like notes, you add notes and everybody works together. So it's a very nice tool, and we use it a lot in the product world specifically. And then there is user interviews and user testing. These are both platforms. I believe they might be paid, but I'm not really 100% sure about it. But you will encounter them in your workplace for sure. The research team usually purchases this type of tools, and there are different ones other than these two. But these two I have specifically used, and I have really liked them because they're very intuitive. They're very easy to use, and there are a lot of people that just sign up for these two tools to earn additional money when they are doing like paid surveys. So I would reach out, for example, to users who have specific type of car, and I wanted to learn more about their experience, like how do they drive, like what do they usually do. And this is just research for me to understand like what new product idea can I come up with. So yeah, I think this is kind of something just to keep in mind if you ever need to use, maybe you have used SurveyMonkey. I think that's kind of very popular to conduct surveys. But again, this is not an exhaustive list. There are so many more tools out there, but just an idea like what I do day to day and what type of resources I use. For the development and testing, this is a bit more specific. You might not encounter everything, but definitely Slack and Jira, both of them, I think they're part of every organization by now. Maybe you might have used Slack here as well. Definitely in grad school, we used Slack when we were put in different group projects to talk to each other, to collaborate. And Jira is used in development. So it's basically tickets for every engineer that they have to work on. So maybe if you will have an internship, which is like a specific type where you have to be assigned a specific Jira, that's where you assign yourself and how many points, or maybe we are getting too specific here, but it's basically how long it will take you to do that work, how much effort. That's the point system that we use. But it's very important for a product manager to see the movement of the tickets. So each column has, let's say, a specific stage where the ticket is. So it's in the to-do, in progress, it's being merged, or in review, and then it's completely done. So obviously, as a product manager, you want everything pushed to the very right column, but it takes time, and that's why we have the board, because that's where we look how everybody is doing and where we are blocked, where do we need to unblock certain people. So for testing, we use Spira Test, where you create all these different tests for specific features that you are doing. And because I was doing mobile development, that's where you do like this whole regression testing, that's what it's considered, where you make sure that you test the feature completely from the beginning till the end of the user experience. And you find different bugs. Like the point of the testing is that you find any bugs or anything that is not working, and you reiterate, you work on those, you make new tickets in the Jira board that developers will pick up. The other one is the Apple Store Connect and Google Play Console. Both of them are for publishing apps. So if you ever, in your free time, design any of apps in either Android or iOS, you will use these two resources. And there is a whole process that goes on to that not necessarily every product manager has to be involved in. But I actually really like that part, because this is how the app looks like in the App Store. So the description of the app screenshots, or information about the app, everything goes there when you are distributing it. So it's important that a PM works with an engineer to set it up correctly and to have like basically the best description for what we're trying to get to the end user. So even though they are technical, you still kind of are involved in a lot of the stages and a lot of the development, QA testing, which is quality assurance. So yeah, I think this is actually a very interesting stage, because it's the lengthiest one, let's say. Developing and testing a product takes time, and the go-to-market, basically, it's a bit faster because we're trying to launch it and to have it out there. Speaking of that, the launch and the post-launch, for launching a product, you can use different resources, but email communications and campaigns are one of them. And for that, I use specifically Amazon Pinpoint, which really helps with reaching like a huge amount of users, let's say, out there, with targeted campaigns, targeted emails. Again, collaboration with marketing here to do this. Not every PM does it. Might be a specific team in certain kind of companies, but that's how I worked on. And then there is Zendesk, which is another tool. It's great for customer support. So I was working directly with the customer support team. That's where you can see the tickets that come in, and you can see the content of each ticket. And each ticket is categorized with different kind of tags. In this case, it's like app complaints or billing complaints, or complaints about specific parts of the experience. So you kind of keep track of those and see like how we're doing from month to month. Like, are we getting more tickets? Should we address specific issues that we see more often? It's important to have that visibility, and that's where you get to more analytical role of the product manager. The same is with Tableau, and I think Tableau might be one of the tools that you will see used in university. At least it was used in some of the courses of analytics in the grad school. So I don't know about undergrad again, but it's definitely a very useful tool. I work directly with my analysts to have any of the dashboards built in Tableau, because I use them daily to see like any of the metrics, how we are doing in terms of like the daily views, for example, that is added there. So yeah, I think it's a lot of different tools that help with your day-to-day job, and in different stages of the product, you'll pay more attention to some than the other. And right now in the post-launch, I'm basically more on the analytics part, like figuring out like, are there any crashes in the mobile app? What are people saying? What are the users saying? How we are doing daily with the product itself? So yeah, I think this is my last slide in terms of like collaboration. And I just want to point out that the product manager role it's not technical per se, but it's more people skills. It requires a lot of people skills because of your interactions with like different teams, as I mentioned. So for the website, for example, I had to work with the marketing team. I had to work with the legal in terms of writing the privacy policy and the terms and conditions, with customer success to manage the relationship with Uber, with finance to manage the inventory of, like the DriveScape devices that we had, engineering to build the product, and design and user research as well as part of the implementation process. And Gartner has an interesting article, which I have there, a link. It was written in 2022, and it was saying that in 2025, a product manager is going to get from the usual three kind of like Venn diagram of business, technology, customer to being that other one on the right corner, basically having much more in-depth skills than just like this general overview. Basically, it's focusing more on leadership, planning, data analysis. So there are a lot more different roles that the product manager will have moving forward, like as we grow in the tech world. So it's important that you develop those skills. And what I'm trying to say is that any course that you take, somehow you can find a use for it in product management. So it's really important that you diversify like whatever you're getting right now in university, whatever you sign up for. Any of the other courses that might not even be present in university, anything that you take outside, that you sign up for, are again very useful. So I encourage to expand your knowledge, expand what like what you sign up for, because it's definitely useful later on in life. And even if you don't want to pursue product management, any roles equivalent, like closer to it, you will have to have this certain skills. So they are transferable to anything later on in your life. And yeah, that's kind of like my last question slide. And I know that there is a QR code for attendance as well. So thank you.
Let's take some questions first. You can apply, it's okay. And as you fill out the attendance survey, let's also take a few minutes for questions for Iris. I'll let them fill this out first.
Well, I have a question while you're doing that. So can you talk about if it's important to be a certified project manager or get the certification in that, and then also any tools that you use, such as Microsoft Project or things like that, to manage your project?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I actually am not in the project management role specifically. I'm in the product manager, so I don't have to have the certification, but I know some companies that really value that. So I've seen, for example, I did an internship at Slalom Build, which is kind of like a consulting firm. And in that case, they really like to have certified managers. So a lot of the people who joined the company, they were going through the training and they were taking the specific courses and certification for that. And they were using the Microsoft project that you mentioned. And I myself kind of used that in my undergrad course when I took one, which was project management. And yeah, I know that there are a lot of other degrees out there that are focused specifically on project management. And it's a very, with that type of certification, you can technically work in different industries. So you are not limited to tech. It can be applied in banking, it can be applied in construction or any of this type of projects. So you can manage any type of project. But the product skills are more aligned to specific product that you're building. So the project management skills come later at a specific stage of the product, but you're mostly focused on what you need to build, not how to manage the resources.
How has AI impacted the work you guys do?
That's a very good question. Yeah, there is this risk that everybody kind of talks about, like people being substituted by AI and our roles being substituted by AI. And I did take a product sense course, and the kind of the teacher there, it's Shreyas Doshi. He's kind of the lecturer that gives this course. He gave an example of somebody who put a prompt in there to kind of provide me the roadmap of this product. And AI does a good job, but it does not do a great job, and it doesn't really think how a human would think or put together. It doesn't really take into consideration these things because it's basically using whatever resources are out there in the internet, putting them together without a clear thought process. So, the human brain cannot really be substituted in that way. However, AI can really help in your day-to-day, for example, to refine some of the processes that you do, or just to help you get things quicker. But you have to know how to work with it. By itself, it's not really gonna substitute the thought process of like human beings. So I'm kind of like okay with it to basically help us in our job and make it more efficient, but not necessarily like substitute how we think and what we build.
Who else has a question for us?
Being in a startup, is there any like risk for you? And also, what is the biggest challenge that you face like on a daily basis as a product manager?
Yeah, that's a very good question. There is definitely the risk of kind of, if you ever want to go somewhere else, I would say, like later on in your life, because you have been in a startup for most of your experience, you might not be exposed to like how bigger companies have their processes and kind of like policies or even their politics within it. So it might not be immediately like transferable, but you have to be aware of like how different cultures work. The startup culture really encourages you to, like open up and be yourself and take on different roles, different processes. There is not really judgmental or, kind of stay within your role type of thing. So, but as I said, that is kind of like a pro and con. The fact with the challenge is that you have to learn like different things that you might not have thought about it. You might have thought that as a product manager, I don't need to do any QA, like any testing. But to get your product moving forward, you have to do that certain thing. So it's more about, I guess, whatever you like to do in your life or at different stages in your life. If you want to expand more of your knowledge and be exposed to different type of responsibilities, then a startup is the best place for that. However, if you feel like you are, you have a lot of industry knowledge or you have a lot of experience and you prefer to go through processes and to be more focused on your work, then like a bigger company would basically fulfill that requirement for you. So I think the challenge is just that there is a lot of different job duties that you have to do and be more adaptive in your role than what is written.
Yeah. Okay, go first.
Sure. So I just want to thank you again for coming here. So my question is, in your role, you expressed a lot of like bouncing around, using different skills that you have. How have you managed internal workflows, so to speak, with your teams? Like what kind of strategies do you use to like minimize, like I guess, issues?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a lot about building the trust with your team. You do decide together what type of processes work for you. So, for example, with my team, we do like daily scrums as a touch point. They're 50 minutes. They're also called like stand up because sometimes you literally stand up when you talk about like the progress daily. But I'm always like open to their suggestions in terms of like what makes sense for us to work together. So it's not necessarily following one process, internal process that has been defined by the company. It's really how you and your team work together and whatever you want to create, following kind of like a framework that is given as a standard within the company, but you can also like expand on it. And again, as I said, might not be true for every company. It really depends on the culture and the type of the company. But where I work, that's how we do it. And the PM role, as I said, is this type of role where you have to build a relationship with people around you. So you have to make sure that they're comfortable with your way of doing things and their way, kind of a mix of the two, basically.
I was just going to ask, what's your level of like competition? Because I've seen other cameras on like, and not just the digital ones, like, but also the ones that back up to like iCloud.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a problem here, or is it like, do you guys have a lot of competition or no?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. That's basically my market research work. But yeah, I think because it's a bespoke camera that we have built it in-house, it has a lot more capabilities than the normal ones with backing up in the cloud. It's more of like, as I said, the computer vision aspect of it that is able to detect if you are distracted or if there was tailgating in front of you, or they're basically the telematics part of it. That's how we differentiate compared to like the other cameras that are out there. And it's not necessarily a product that we might want to invest in the long term. It's more about like how these companies, because we are a B2B, like we work with other businesses. Consumer is kind of like B2B to C. So it's the customers or the consumers of our businesses that we work with, of our partners. So Uber drivers technically are employed by Uber, and the camera, even though we are the third party providing it, it's up to Uber how they decide to use it and how much they want to expand in the market. But it's really lowering the risk of their drivers. So it's kind of like in a pilot stage right now, but I think that's what differentiates us, why they went with us and not with another dashcam provider.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, what, I guess, like, tips would you have for someone going into, like, digital product management, for, like, someone who hasn't, like, really, took much classes or done much into that?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good question. I personally still take classes or still take courses to advance what I know about the product world, because it's not a cut through. Like, it's not what you learn in school directly. You really learn with experience yourself. But if you want to understand more like how the product building is or its own life cycle, there are courses out there that personally I have taken that I've found that useful. However, whatever you study here, it really applies directly. So I would say that if you have, as I mentioned, diversified courses that you would take, and you're not necessarily specialized in only one, like let's say you're just doing computer engineering and you've never taken a business course, that might hinder a bit, like how you'd be successful. However, I've seen a lot of engineers that go through the product path after having had experience and exposure to product management. So it's really a role that you kind of get used to it, or you get better with experience. And what you can learn from courses are more on like things that you can apply to day. So whatever I learned like from a product sense course that I recently took, it's more about strategies on how to think about creating a roadmap or getting strategic alignment with all the stakeholders. So there are techniques that help you out, but again, it's more just get one role or one experience that helps you kind of experience what it really is. And my first internship was actually not direct product management. It was like a solution owner, which is closer to product management, but not one-to-one role. So there are different titles out there that you can be aware of, and just, like apply and get that exposure in real world, or even building your own website, your own app, or any of that can help you when you look later in life to come into the role.
Would you say like taking the like ECBA would be like beneficial?
Can you explain a bit more what the ECBA is?
Just like the entry certificate for business analysts, like would you say that would
I
be
see.
like beneficial in this?
Yeah, I think that probably is, because as I said, a lot of the skill is transferable to a product manager as well. However, that does sound a bit specific to wanting to get into those roles, right? The product analyst or like business analyst roles, which I'm sure they do have a lot of similar responsibilities, like researching or doing some of the parts that the product manager does as well. However, again, it's really important to do your own research on this, like what does a product analyst or a business analyst do compared to like a product manager, like what exactly are their responsibilities. If they do match, then maybe it is a good way to go and say like I want to get that certification. I've noticed though that a lot of certifications are, if you are trying to specialize somewhere, you do get the certification. But if you're just trying to understand like where you'd want to work later in life, then you don't really need to do it now. You can really do it after you are 100% convinced that this is what I want to do. As I forgot the name of the professor, but as she mentioned, like, oh, do I need to have a certificate for project management? No, you don't really need to, unless you are going to a very specific role that does require it, and it will have it in its own like description that you have to be certified. Most of the product manager roles that I've seen, or like even business analysts, they don't really require certifications.
Okay, yeah.
So this is like very interesting, like what you guys are developing. So my question would probably be, what horizontals are you pursuing, and like what's the long-term vision for this? Is this something that you guys are going to stay as a third party for like these rideshare companies, or are you looking maybe to like have like a merger with one of them who's willing to, I guess, buy the company and merge? Or, and then on the other side, do you guys have like an internal software that like manages like whatever you guys use?
Okay, the two-part question, great. So the first one, it's really like a different strategy that we have within Cambridge Mobile Telematics. We don't really tend to like merge with any other companies other than make them partners in a way. Actually, the company did merge with another telematics provider where I was interning before. That's how I know. It was called True Motion. So other than another telematics company, I don't see our company going through that path. However, when it comes to partnership, we are actually looking to kind of like collaborate with Ring, for example, because they do have their dash cams. We're not really in the market to building our own. Again, we kind of build it for R&D purposes and to see like how that would benefit the users, and we use that as a pilot to say that it is working for like these companies to kind of see the risk on their own drivers, or to manage the risk or lower it in a way. So yeah, I think that's not really what we're trying to do like long term. It's more like find usefulness in what we build and strategically find the partners that would help us in that approach. So the proprietary information is basically the chip that we have in the dashcam itself. That one has all the telematics information that, or sensor data that you'd get. So that chip could be inserted in other dashcams and work great in the same way. So we don't really have to care about the supply chain, which is pretty difficult, another operation on its own. And we're not really in the market for that. In terms of, like you mentioned, software, like how we kind of, I guess, collaborate or like manage our teams. As I said, I think Slack would be one of them, where everybody has their own channels within Slack, and we are basically divided on our own squads or teams, and you actually have exposure to everybody's other channels, so you can get information within it. We also have, I guess, any other like tool like Zoom or Google Meet or any of these other ones where we collaborate this way, but I guess now that we're no longer in the pandemic, it's more like in-person collaboration, and we go in the office. So that's another thing. I think something to keep in mind, that moving forward, a lot of the companies are going to like a full RTO or kind of like 3 days in the office type of thing, that really helps to have this in-person collaboration. So
nothing really like internal, so to speak, to like track like team KPIs and whatever.
I mean, we do have, I don't think we are that focused on, I mean, we do manage things in easy format, let's say like Excel sheets or like Google Docs, but not necessarily, I mean, there is Jira as well for engineers, that they see like how many of this tickets they have completed throughout the waves. But for a product manager, I would say like it's more about the OKRs for the quarter, to see like if you have completed, if you have gotten the objective that you wanted, basically. So.
Thank you. We have time for one more question.
So somebody here that wanted to ask, but maybe they left.
Going once? Thanks, Tom.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.